The arena was alive with sound, thousands of voices mixed together like thunder, echoing across the great dome that stretched above the alien city. It was more than a fight. It was tradition, a show of pride, and the one event that kept the galaxy united in awe. Every year, champions of many species came to test their strength here. Every year they left broken, beaten, or humiliated, because this was the home of a warrior no one could defeat. They called him the Invincible Champion. His name was whispered with fear. His victories filled songs and carvings across worlds. He was not just a fighter, he was a living legend. His green skin was thick like armor, his body a tower of muscle, and his fists heavy as stone. He had stood against giants twice his size. He had fought creatures with claws, fangs, and fire in their breath, yet no one had lasted more than a few minutes against him. When he walked into the ring, the crowd shook with excitement. The ground seemed to tremble under his heavy steps. He raised one arm, and the audience roared as if a god had arrived. His body was covered in scars, each one a memory of a battle, each one a reminder of his power. To the galaxy, those scars were proof that he could not be broken. High above the arena, banners floated in the air, glowing with bright alien colors. Creatures of many species shouted his name. Even the commentators' voices shook with pride as they introduced him. Here is the one who has never been defeated, the champion of champions, the warrior who stands above all others. The alien champion smirked. His sharp teeth glistened under the lights. His massive shoulders rose and fell with each breath, and even before the fight began, he could taste victory. It was always the same. Another challenger would step into the ring, brave but foolish. They would swing, they would strike, they would try their hardest, but the result never changed. To him, this was not survival. This was entertainment. His people demanded victory, and he gave it to them every time. His fists had crushed bones. His speed had stunned warriors. His strength had ended careers. He had become the symbol of invincibility, and his people believed he would never fall. As he prepared, his eyes scanned the other side of the arena. A small door opened slowly, and silence spread through the crowd. Everyone leaned forward, eager to see who would face him this time. Would it be another giant from the burning worlds? A beast from the ice planets, a gladiator with metal skin? The door opened wider, and for the first time that night the crowd did not cheer. They laughed. A ripple of disbelief spread across the stands. For stepping into the light was not a monster, not a beast, not even a warrior covered in armor. It was a human. The champion frowned, his face twisting in confusion. A human. He had heard of them, but only as whispers in old war stories. Humans were not the strongest race. They were not the biggest nor the most dangerous. To him, they were fragile creatures, soft, small, easy to break. Many aliens in the crowd burst out laughing, shouting insults and mocking the human. Before the fight had even begun, the human walked slowly, calmly, not rushing, not hesitating. He was not tall compared to the champion. His body was lean, his muscles visible but not monstrous. He did not wear heavy armor or glowing weapons, only simple fighting gear, plain and practical. Yet there was something in his eyes, something sharp, something focused, that made a few in the audience stop their laughter for a moment. The champion growled low, cracking his knuckles as he stepped forward. He wanted to end this quickly. He wanted the galaxy to remember again why he was invincible. His lips curled into a grin as he pointed at the human, mocking him in front of the crowd. This is no fight, he thought. This is a joke. The bell was placed in the center of the arena, shining under the lights. Its sound had marked the beginning of every fight for decades. When it rang, warriors clashed, blood spilled, and legends were written. Tonight, the crowd was ready for another story of easy victory. They expected the human to last seconds, maybe a minute at most, before falling like all the rest. But the human never broke eye contact with the champion. His body was still, his breathing calm. He did not laugh, did not show fear, did not even blink. He simply stood like a predator, waiting in silence, his muscles ready to move. The champion felt the first flicker of something strange, a feeling he had not known in many years. It was not fear, not yet, but something close. The way the human stared at him, without hesitation, without doubt. It unsettled him for a moment. He shook his head, forcing the thought away. No, he told himself. This is nothing. I am the champion. I cannot be beaten. The announcer's voice boomed once more. On this side, the invincible champion. On the other side, the challenger, a human. The crowd erupted into cheers and laughter. Bets were shouted, odds were placed. Almost no one believed the human had a chance. The champion raised his arms high, letting the noise fuel his pride. His muscles glistened under the bright lights, his body a monument of power. He had crushed hundreds before, and he would crush this one too. The human was nothing but another name, another broken body to add to his list. The referee moved back. The bell was lifted. The sound was about to ring. The air grew heavy with tension, and in that instant the galaxy prepared itself for another easy victory. But the human still stood perfectly still, his eyes locked on the champion, as if he was waiting for something the crowd could not see. The bell began to swing. The sound was seconds away. And in that moment, as the champion grinned with certainty, no one in the arena knew they were about to witness history. The bell had not yet rung, but the noise of the crowd grew louder and louder. The laughter rolled through the stands like a storm. To them, the sight of a human in the arena was not only strange, it was insulting. They had come to see the invincible champion crush monsters, giants, and beasts from across the stars. Instead, they were watching a small human stand, calmly in the middle of the ring. It felt like a joke. "Look at him!" an alien shouted, pointing at the human. "He looks weaker than a child." "End it in one punch, champion!" Another voice roared. The jeers echoed. The audience stomped their feet, demanding the fight to begin. They wanted blood, they wanted entertainment, and they wanted to laugh at the foolish human who dared to stand before their god of war. The champion enjoyed it. He raised one massive arm and flexed, letting his muscles bulge under the lights. The crowd screamed with joy. His grin grew wider, and his sharp teeth glistened. He pointed at the human as if asking the audience, "Can you believe this?" The laughter grew even louder. The human still did not move. He stood straight, his arms at his sides, his breathing steady. His eyes never left the champion. It was as though the voices, the insults, and the mocking around him did not exist. The champion took a step forward, each stomp of his foot shaking the ground beneath him. His shadow stretched across the floor, swallowing the smaller human. His deep voice rumbled through the air as he spoke, loud enough for all to hear. "Do you know where you are, little one? This is not a playground. This is not a spar. This is where warriors come to die. And you are not a warrior. You are a mistake." The crowd howled with approval. The champion spread his arms wide, basking in the adoration. His chest puffed out like a beast marking his territory, but still, the human did not respond. The champion narrowed his eyes. Something about the silence irritated him. He wanted fear. He wanted panic. He wanted the human to tremble before the fight even began. Instead, all he saw was calm, eyes locked on him, unshaken, unbroken. The referee moved into place, raising his hand to signal the start. The crowd leaned forward, their anticipation sharp as knives. The bell was about to ring, and they were ready to watch the human crumble in seconds. The champion leaned down slightly, close enough for only the human to hear his growl. "When the bell rings, I will break you. You will not last one breath against me." The bell sounded. Instantly, the champion charged. His massive legs thundered across the floor, his fists raised like boulders ready to crush. The ground shook with every step, and the crowd screamed in wild excitement. This was the moment they had waited for. The champion was about to smash the human into the dirt. But in that single second, something strange happened. The human moved, not with panic, not with fear. His body shifted in a blur, smooth and sharp, like lightning cutting through the air. His fists struck out, once, twice, 3 times, before the echo of the bell had even faded. The champion froze in shock. Pain exploded across his body where the human strikes landed. The crowd fell silent for a heartbeat, not sure what they had seen. Then the laughter returned, though weaker this time. "He tapped him," one alien shouted. "It means nothing. The champion is unharmed." But the champion knew those strikes were real. His ribs ached, his jaw stung. And worst of all, he had not even seen the human move. He roared with fury, swinging his massive fist at the human's head. The blow was fast, strong enough to break stone, but the human slipped under it with ease, his movements faster than the eye could follow. 2 more strikes landed, sharp, precise, and unrelenting. The champion stumbled back, his grin fading, his eyes narrowed in disbelief. He was supposed to be untouchable. No one had ever landed so many blows on him before. And now, a human, a creature he had mocked as weak, was hitting him faster than he could react. The crowd shouted again, this time not with laughter but with confusion. They had seen it too. The human's speed was unnatural. The champion's body shook with rage as he tried again, swinging, slamming, charging, but each time the human slipped past him like a shadow and struck again. By the time the first minute had passed, the human had landed 5 clean blows. The champion's lip was bleeding, his chest burned, his pride was wounded more deeply than his flesh. The silence in the arena grew heavy. The laughter had stopped. Whispers spread like fire. "What is happening? How is this possible? Did you see that? Too fast? He is too fast." The champion's chest heaved as he tried to regain his breath. His eyes locked on the human with something he had not felt in years. Doubt. The human finally moved his lips, speaking for the first time. His voice was calm, quiet, but it cut through the air like a blade. "You thought this was over before it began. But you never understood what humans can do." The champion's jaw clenched. His pride demanded victory, but his heart began to whisper a dangerous thought. For the first time in his life he wondered, what if he could lose? The fight was no longer a joke. The mockery was gone, and the galaxy's most feared champion was about to face a nightmare he had never imagined. The air inside the arena grew heavy, as if the crowd itself had forgotten how to breathe. The sound of the bell still lingered in the dome, but the moment had already become something no one could explain. 5 strikes in less than a heartbeat. 5 blows before the echo of the bell had finished. It should have been impossible. It was impossible, yet everyone had just seen it happen. The champion stood tall, but for the first time his face showed something the crowd had never seen before. Confusion. His chest rose and fell, his jaw was tight, and his sharp eyes locked on the human as if trying to make sense of him. He was the invincible champion, the undefeated warrior of the galaxy, and yet his ribs burned with pain, his lip bled. His pride was cracked. The human stood calmly in front of him, not moving, not rushing. His arms hung at his sides, his body relaxed, his breathing steady. It was as if he had not even used energy at all. He looked almost bored, like a predator, waiting for the next careless mistake from its prey. The crowd began to whisper among themselves. Some shouted that it was a trick, others claimed the human had used hidden technology. But none of them could explain how their mighty champion, the warrior who defeated monsters, had just been struck so easily by someone who looked so small. The champion roared, shaking the floor beneath his feet. His voice was like thunder, echoing across the arena. "Enough games!" he bellowed. His massive fist shot forward, faster than most creatures could react. It was a blow that had broken bones and shattered armor countless times before, but the human was not there. The audience gasped as the human's body slipped to the side, smooth and quick, leaving nothing but air where the fist had been. Before the champion could even turn his head, the human's elbow slammed against his side, sharp and precise. The champion grunted in pain, his body twisting, but before he could recover, another strike landed against his jaw. 2 hits, then 3, then another. Each movement was so fast that the alien eyes could barely follow. The human's body became a blur, moving in and out of reach, landing blows with machine-like accuracy. Every strike was small compared to the champion's power, but each one carried perfect timing and perfect force, and together they began to break him down. The champion swung wildly, his arms cutting the air, his fists crashed into the floor, and sent cracks racing through the ground. But he hit nothing. The human slipped past him again and again, like water escaping a clenched fist. The crowd grew quieter with every second, their laughter now replaced by fear. The champion staggered, his chest heaving. Sweat rolled down his green skin, his muscles burned with exhaustion. He could feel the bruises forming where the human had struck him. He had never been in this position before. No one had ever pushed him like this. The human stepped forward, his eyes still locked with unshakable calm. He tilted his head slightly, as if studying the champion, as if deciding how much longer the fight should last. And then, without warning, he moved again. A blur of fists struck the champion's face, chest and stomach in rapid succession. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the beat of a drum. The sound echoed across the arena, the rhythm of destruction. The champion's knees buckled as he staggered back, his massive body trembling. The crowd could no longer deny it. This was no trick. This was no illusion. The human was truly faster, faster than anything they had ever seen. Some of the alien spectators clutched their seats in silence, unable to believe what their eyes showed them. Others shouted in panic, their voices breaking. "How can this be? The champion cannot fall. No one is faster than him." But the truth was clear. The champion was already falling apart. His breaths grew ragged. His eyes darted in panic. His fists swung slower now, each movement heavier than the last. And every time he tried to attack, the human was already gone, already moving, already striking. The invincible champion, the god of the arena, looked less like a warrior and more like a desperate animal cornered by a predator. The human's fists stopped for a moment, his body standing still again. He looked at the champion with steady eyes and spoke in a voice that carried across the entire arena. "You built your legend on strength, but you forgot the power of speed. You forgot the power of precision, and you forgot humanity never fights fair." The champion growled in fury and lunged forward with everything he had left. His body twisted, his muscles strained, and his roar filled the dome. But before he could land a single blow, the human vanished from his sight and reappeared at his side. The next series of strikes landed so fast, the sound was like thunder cracking through the air. The champion's body shook, his knees gave way, his massive form stumbled, nearly collapsing before he caught himself on the ropes of the ring. His arms trembled as he tried to lift them again, but his strength was fading fast. The arena fell into silence. The crowd stared in disbelief, their voices stolen by the impossible. The invincible champion, who had crushed every opponent before him, was barely able to stand, and the human, calm and unshaken, had not even broken a sweat. The arena had never been this quiet. It was as if the entire galaxy held its breath. Thousands of voices that once laughed and mocked the human were now silenced, frozen in disbelief. Their champion, the undefeated warrior who carried the pride of his people, was shaking on his feet. His knees bent under his weight, his shoulders slumped, his arms heavy. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and sweat poured down his green skin. Every breath sounded like a growl mixed with pain. He had been hit before in past battles, beaten, scratched, scarred, but never like this. Never so many times in such a short span. The human stood a few steps away, his body calm and balanced, his fists lowered, his breathing steady. He looked untouched, unbroken, and almost effortless. He did not roar. He did not show off. He did not need to. His very presence in that moment was louder than any sound in the arena. The champion forced himself upright, his pride screaming louder than his body. He had never been defeated. He could not be defeated. His people were watching. His legacy was at stake. If he fell here, it was not just his body that would collapse. It was the belief of his entire race. "No," he whispered under his breath, clenching his fists. His voice cracked with desperation. "I am the champion. I cannot fall to you." He charged forward, his massive legs pounding the floor like drums of war. The ground shook as he lunged at the human with all the force he had left. His fists swung wildly. His roars filled the air. His power tore through the space between them. But once again, the human was gone. The champion's blows smashed into the ground, sending cracks racing across the arena floor. Dust and shards of stone flew into the air, yet the human slipped past each strike like a shadow. A strike landed against the champion's ribs, another against his jaw, another against his knee. Each blow was small, sharp, and perfectly placed. The champion stumbled, again, his body groaning under the punishment. His legs shook, his chest burned, and his arms no longer obeyed his will. His pride was still roaring, but his body was already finished. The crowd gasped when they saw him stumble back, one knee nearly touching the ground. For a moment, he caught himself, forcing his legs to lock in place, refusing to collapse. He tried to roar again, but his voice cracked into something weaker, something broken. The human stepped closer. His eyes were cold and steady, but not cruel. He did not taunt. He did not mock. He simply raised his fists again and spoke in a calm voice, almost too quiet for the crowd to hear. "Strength is nothing without control. Power is nothing without speed, and pride is nothing when you are too slow to protect it." The champion swung again, a desperate strike. The human dodged and delivered a final series of blows, one to the ribs, one to the chest, one to the jaw. And then, with a final sharp strike, the champion's legs gave way. The sound of his body crashing to the ground was like thunder. The arena shook as the invincible champion fell face first onto the floor. His arms spread out, his breathing shallow, his body trembling. He tried to push himself up, his muscles straining, but they refused to obey. His strength was gone. The audience gasped, their voices breaking into a storm of disbelief. "No, it can't be. He can't fall. He's the champion." But he had fallen. The legend had collapsed. The referee stepped closer, staring in shock. He had never seen this before. He hesitated, unsure of what to do, but the truth was clear. The champion could not stand. The fight was over. The human stood above him, his chest rising and falling slowly, his eyes calm as ever. He did not celebrate. He did not lift his arms in victory. He simply looked down at the fallen warrior, and in that silence, the entire galaxy understood what had just happened. Their god of war was no longer invincible. Whispers filled the air. Some shouted in anger, refusing to believe what they had seen. Others cried out in fear, realizing their strongest warrior had been broken by someone they had mocked as weak. And among them, a few watched in awe, realizing that a new power had just revealed itself. The champion's body twitched as he tried once more to rise. His pride would not allow him to lie still. His arms pushed against the floor, his body trembling violently, but his strength was gone. His massive frame collapsed again. The human bent slightly, his shadow falling over the champion. For a long moment, they stared at each other. The alien's eyes, once filled with arrogance, now held something else: respect, and perhaps fear. The human spoke again, his voice calm and steady. "You are strong, but strength without balance is weakness. Tonight, the galaxy will remember not your victories, but your defeat." The champion's eyes closed, his body finally giving in. The crowd fell into stunned silence. The collapse of a legend had been written before their very eyes, and the human, quiet and still, became something greater than a challenger. He became the proof that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had ever believed. The silence in the arena was unlike anything ever heard before. Where once there had been cheers, laughter, and thunderous roars of pride, now there was only disbelief. The invincible champion, symbol of strength, god of war, undefeated legend, lay broken on the ground. His massive body no longer moved. His pride shattered, his reign ended. The crowd did not know how to react. Some shouted in denial, their voices trembling. It was a trick! He cheated! Others clutched their heads in despair, unable to believe what their eyes had witnessed. And many more stared wide-eyed at the human, a mixture of fear and awe spreading across their faces. The human stood still in the center of the arena. He did not raise his arms in triumph. He did not shout. He did not gloat. His calm eyes scanned the crowd as if studying each and every alien who watched him. The silence gave weight to his presence. Without saying a word, he told them everything. Your strongest is no longer enough. Humanity is not what you thought it was. The referee finally found his voice, though it cracked with shock. The winner, the human challenger. The words echoed through the dome, and the galaxy's history changed in that moment. The champion stirred slightly, his eyes half open. His pride wanted him to rise, to prove this was not the end. But his body refused. He looked at the human above him, this small creature who had struck him faster than his eyes could follow, and something changed inside him. For the first time in his life, he felt respect for another being. His lips trembled as he whispered. A single word meant only for the human to hear: strong. The human's eyes softened, but his voice remained steady. Not strong, he replied quietly. Prepared. Those words were simple, but they cut deep into the hearts of all who heard them. Whispers began to spread across the stands. Prepared? What does that mean? How can humans move like that? How can they fight with such speed? The answer was terrifying. Humans had always been underestimated. They were not the largest species. They were not covered in armor, nor gifted with claws or fangs. Their bodies looked fragile compared to giants or beasts, but their true power was hidden in places the galaxy had never considered. Humans adapted. Humans endured. And most of all, humans learned. The galaxy fought with brute strength, with size, with tradition. But humans fought differently. They studied, they planned, they exploited weakness. And in the blink of an eye, they struck where no one expected. Their bodies might not have been the strongest, but their speed, their strategy, their refusal to quit made them more dangerous than any warrior the galaxy had ever known. As the whispers turned to fear, one alien elder in the crowd muttered, "If one human can defeat our champion, what will happen when their armies arrive?" The thought spread quickly. The arena, once filled with pride, was now filled with dread. If a single human could bring down their invincible champion in seconds, what could an entire fleet of humans do to the galaxy's empires? The human looked around, as if sensing their fear. He did not speak loudly, but his voice carried across the silence like thunder. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never mistake patience for fear. Humanity will always strike when it matters most, and when we strike, we do not stop. The words froze every heart in the arena. The message was clear. Humans were not prey. They were predators waiting in the shadows, and when the moment came, they would move faster than anyone could imagine. The referee stepped back, unsure of whether to approach. The fallen champion lay motionless, his body finally surrendering to exhaustion. The fight was finished, but the war of belief, the war of fear, had only just begun. The human turned his back on the fallen warrior and walked slowly toward the gate. He did not rush. He did not wave. He left behind no celebration, only the echo of his footsteps. And with every step, the galaxy's faith in invincibility crumbled. When the gate closed behind him, the silence lingered for several long moments before chaos erupted. Some screamed in anger, demanding revenge. Others whispered in fear, warning that humanity must never be provoked. And a few, those who truly understood, looked pale, realizing what had just been revealed to the galaxy. The human had not simply defeated a champion. He had shattered the illusion of alien superiority. From that night forward, one truth could never be denied. Humanity was fast, precise, and impossible to predict. Against them, even legends could fall, and as the stars outside the arena shined, cold and bright, a warning spread across the galaxy like fire. They thought their champion was invincible until a human ended the fight in seconds.